And we are the Righteous Brothers. I'm Kendall Young.
And I am K Shillings from the YouTube station K Shillings. All right. Also Twitter and Vine. So I'll come to you with a little bit of sports talk today. What do you want to start off with, Kendall or Token?
I say we start off with NBA preseason basketball. We're getting ready for the big show, big time. You ready for the beginning of November?
Yes, sir. So, news of the day, I actually heard Jalen Rose talking about Stephen Curry's improvement from last year to this upcoming year. Supposedly, he took a full step in his improvement, which is kind of weird to me because Stephen Curry, to me, was already like one of the, premier basketball players in the NBA. So if he took a really big step towards improvement, or if he improved a lot in the off season, it's kind of a scary thought. What do you think?
In all seriousness, he was a top 20 player, 15 player, was not a top 10 player. So if he took a step forward, he's reaching that level of a Durant, a Rose, a James. He's right on the cups of that now.
That's interesting. You said a Rose? So
yes.
Based on Derrick Rose's, your last viewing of Derrick Rose, I guess his MVP, which was last season, the season before last in the playoffs, versus Stephen Curry in the playoffs in this last playoff run. Which player would you rather have?
I think I would rather have Stephen Curry right now. Because the last thing I remember of Derrick Rose was ow.
Well, I don't know if you could base it on the injury. I mean, that game, I think he had, 38 points that game before he tore his ACL.
Yeah, but he's not really known as a passer. Growing up in Calipari's dribble drive, offense, for that one season he was in college. I really don't feel like he got the passing chops that he needs to have. And he didn't really have anybody to pass to in Chicago. I mean, are you going to pass it to Joakim Noah for a 15-footer?
I would love Noah for 15-foot. But, let's see. I personally would rather have Curry. I think Curry just brings more to the table. Derrick Rose is a beast. Probably the only person as athletic as Derrick Rose in the NBA is like Russell Westbrook. I don't think there's anybody else who's even close. But Stephen Curry, watching him in the playoffs, the shot, one of the most pure jump shots I've ever seen. And then the fact that as a shooter, he's not even a spot-up shooter. He shoots off the dribble, like off wide dribbles. So he'll cross somebody over, pull up three, and it's unstoppable. So for me, I think, and then he's a great passer, and then, dribble drive, has handles probably. I'd say the only two people who have better handles than Steph. Well, it's probably more than two people. I'd give it to Chris Paul, give it to Kyrie Irving, and probably LeBron. Who else? Yeah, it's probably a lot.
I would say Kyrie Irving's handle's a little overrated.
Why you say that?
I mean, I say that because I feel like he's pretty turnover prone compared to even John Wall. I mean, most of John Wall's turnovers come over from, I got myself into a situation and nobody is open. Somehow on that Washington team, I think that Kyrie is a little bit. He's going to be the bigger star, but between him and John Wall, I think he's a little bit more turnover prone. Chris Paul, of course, has the best handles in the game because he can get anywhere he wants to at any time by any means necessary. And just there's very few players in the NBA nowadays that have that.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't particularly think Kyrie Irving is overrated, just because of how he performs when it's a room full of the best players on earth. He holds his own pretty well. Like in the Olympics, the Olympic trials or whatever they do with the select team, He was schooling, some of the best players on earth. I do think his turnovers are high, but if you look at the team he's on, I think he's forced to make a lot of decisions that he probably wouldn't naturally make. So I think that's probably why his turnovers are high. But yeah, it's Stephen Curry though. I do think he's probably one of the premier point guards, and if he got better this offseason, I think that's scary for anybody else in the NBA.
Well, I think that he has a chance to be a top point guard. I mean, the top point guard, because Chris Paul's on his way down. Derrick Rose, we haven't seen how he's going to come back from his injury yet. Tony Parker, with his team, yeah, he is spectacular at times, but he doesn't have to carry the load such as Stephen Curry did. But I think we see a little overrated. We think about that Knicks game where he scored 50 in the Garden, and we miss out on the point that Jared Jack did a lot of heavy lifting during the playoffs.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he actually led Stephen Curry and what's the other dude? Klay Thompson.
Yeah, Klay Thompson.
They played a lot of off the ball. To be honest, I'm not that high on Klay Thompson. I do think he's a good pure shooter. He's a little inconsistent, a little streaky for me. But I do like what they're building in Golden State, and then adding Iguodala to that mix. That's going to be pretty legit.
Yeah. Well, mark it here first. I'm going to call Klay Thompson a taller Vernon Maxwell in the future.
Oh, Mad Max. So is he going to be hugging people out on the court?
Well, I think that defensively he's got a little this irrational confidence that he can hit the shots that he takes, and he does a good percentage of the time. And so I also think that when he gets better defensively, he'll be able to guard the LeBrons decently, the Durant's decently, just like Brandon Maxwell was a very hard defender on Michael Jordan when star players were smaller.
Yeah, I can see that. All right.
I mean, when you think, go ahead.
So before we start to run out of time, what do you think about the Redskins? About them changing their name, the name of the team? In my opinion, I do think. Well, first of all, I didn't know Redskins was like a offensive term. I guess I always assumed it was like how Cleveland Indians or the Braves or like FSU. What's the FSU mascot?
Seminoles.
Exactly. I always thought it was something like that. I didn't know that it was actually an offensive term. But being that they're actually protesting and trying to get the team to change their name, if you have a segment of the population who are offended by something, I don't really see the big deal. I think you change it. I mean,
I don't think they should. There are a lot of schools that are 95, 50, 75, any range percent Native American that have the name Redskins. South Dakota State's hockey team used to be known as the Sioux, and they had to change their team name, or otherwise they wouldn't be eligible for the NCAA. I mean, the Braves, what makes Braves racist is not the mascot. It's not anything like that. Tomahawk chop. Florida State uses that as well, but they have the blessing of the Seminoles nation. The Cleveland Indians, the only thing that's racist about the Indians is, well, their mascot, Chief Wahoo. The Redskins is a term just like black people. It's purely black people still call themselves black. Indians still consider themselves Redskins and carry it with a pride. We call it Black Power, not African American power. So, I mean, to say that it offends a certain segment, who is it really offending? I don't want to get into the conversation of white guilt, but that's basically where I feel like it lies.
Well, I see your point with that, but at the same time, if somebody tells you that something you're doing is offensive to them, can you really could you really tell them that it's not offensive to them? Like,
If you were to pray, you know, and somebody told you that offended you, what would you tell them?
I don't know. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll try not to do it around you. I don't know. I really have no idea. I mean,
But now it hard. But now
I see what you're getting at.
now it
Because
infringes.
anything could be considered offensive to whatever individual. But
Yeah,
with
and it
that,
infringes on
huh?
it infringes on your right at that point, and they have the right to be called the Redskins. It doesn't. It's not an offensive term. I mean, now some people are saying, well, we should call the Seattle team the Yellow Man, or you know, the Mississippi Coons. Oh, whatever kind of that. Those are racial slurs. Chinese people aren't yellow. You know, Indians had a darker skin than fair-skinned whites back then, and it was considered almost. I mean, do we not call light-skinned people from South Louisiana red bones?
Yeah, but that's something that's used in a particular community. You're, but in this case, you're talking about a team that's not owned by Native Americans who have their mascot or the side of their helmet has a Native American person from the side, and they're called something that Native Americans think is offensive, or at least some Native, or at least a large group of Native Americans think is offensive. Now, it's possible that it could be something more to the story. They may want money or something from the team. I don't know what it is, but just taking it for face value, I just think that if you name a team after a group of people and that group of people deem it to be offensive, I don't really see what recourse you have other than to you know take take them at face value for being offended. All right, so let's move on. See what else. So the next segment would be okay. Just a little background. As much as I'm into sports, my least favorite sport is baseball by far. So in this segment, Token is going to try to educate me on that thing you watch when you drink beer, and it makes it more pleasing to the eye.
Well, baseball is a very simple yet complicated game. It is woven into the fabric of America. Now, 9 to a side, a pitcher, a first baseman, a second baseman, a shortstop, a third baseman, 3 outfielders,
So let me ask
and
you
a
a question.
catcher. Yeah.
Where is the wickets? The wickets, where are they placed? In the
The wicket, there are no wickets in baseball. There are no wickets. Okay. 27 outs to both
20?
sides. 27. Just think of it like 27 TV timeouts
Wow.
during the NCAA tournament, which is basically how many during the NCAA tournament. To kind of give you more of a grasp of it, each team will have a batter come up to face the pitcher, and he has 3 strikes or 4 balls to either get a hit or he will be called out unless he gets a walk, which is when he gets the 4 balls. He can strike out, he can foul, he can hit the ball to a fielder, and he can be thrown out.
Question.
Among other, yes.
So, and you have to answer this honestly. Can you personally watch a full game of baseball on TV without alcohol or any type
Yes.
of mood altering substance?
Yes, I've done it plenty of times before.
And have it not be a playoff game?
Yes. I've
and
done it
have it be a
before.
match. Two teams, neither one are local, and neither
Okay.
one are like mainstream. So no Yankees, no Red Sox, or anything like that.
I will watch the San Diego Padres versus the Cincinnati Reds sometimes. Sometimes.
Wow.
I enjoy I enjoy competition.
I suppose. All right. So, okay, we're starting to run out of time. Moving on. Quick thing. Wrestling. Current professional wrestling. What's your opinion on it? Or
Um,
WWE in general, in particular.
WWE has a star in the making that is going to transcend the sport. Hopefully more so than John Cena has, and yes, that is Daniel Bryan. This storyline, the way they have carried it out, has been the absolute way that wrestling was pre-Attitude Era, where you have long-standing feuds that keep going, they keep growing, and they keep escalating, and it's going to culminate in such a just fantastic ending when Daniel Bryan does get his hands on that title. I mean, it is going to be, everybody's going to explode. It is going to be big news. I really think that they're going to try to end it here at Hell in a Cell because they feel like people's attention spans can only hold on so long. But I really feel like if at WrestleMania, by the time WrestleMania comes, the publicity and the media attention that they get for WrestleMania and that moment will bring a lot of people into wrestling, which is what you want. You want more people involved in wrestling so more people can have a say in how it should go. And so and they listen to the fans quite often. I mean, it is very, very, very important that they listen to the fans. I mean, that's what it's based off of, reactions. And I think the reaction they would get there, I think people would go through a lull, around Royal Rumble, which is in January, and be very unhappy that Daniel Bryan has not got his hand on the title yet. But I think the insertion of John Cena coming back will help with that because you can put the belt on him at any time. And he's a quote-unquote worthy champion. And if you put the belt on him for a couple of months, I mean, I think it's going to be well worth it. As far as some of the mid-carders, I like Dolph Ziggler, who is an impeccable wrestler, just impeccable. I enjoy watching him wrestle. And also, like a Damian Sandow or Cody Rhodes. I mean, those guys are kind of being pushed in old-style feuds that, are pretty awesome. So I like the pre-Attitude Era of it because that's what got me in was the stories, the storytelling of the wrestling. People made a big deal about WrestleMania and Triple H Undertaker match, and I mean you can tell me all about how you felt about that match.
Well, all right. Well, starting from, I'll just go over my whole opinions on wrestling right now. Personally, I don't love it right now. I do like Daniel Bryan. I think Daniel Bryan is the best thing that happened to wrestling in like the last 15 years. But I mean, I do think they're kind of making the storyline a little bit stale, like having them, screwed out of the title over and over again, which it kind of works both ways because one way you're building it, like, so when he finally gets it, everybody's gonna like explode, but you run the risk of at the time when he finally does get it, will anybody even care anymore? Because you beat the storyline to death. So I think that's a risk. So it's either going to be a big payoff or it's going to be kind of like, nobody cares and low ratings or whatever. I don't like the program with Randy Orton. I think Randy Orton is just terrible. He's real boring. He's a little bit better when he's a heel and trying to smash people's skulls. Well, smash people's skulls, but doing the stupid chair stuff. But I mean, all in all, I think he's a boring wrestler. I think I was watching another blog earlier, and somebody was saying, they should bring Cena back, turn him heel, and have him face Daniel Bryan. That would be interesting. Pretty sure they'll never do it though. But I do think Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are what's keeping wrestling interesting right now.
Yeah.
There's people like Kofi Kingston that I think have a lot of talent. I think he should be, in the program for the World Championship, but, he's not. He's been like mid-card, U.S. title, Intercontinental for like ever. So I don't like that. Who else you have? You have people like R-Truth, who I just think sucks. Like, I can't stand. I don't like R-Truth at all. So whatever he gets involved in, he did have some steam when he was like a psycho. When he was like talking to himself and stuff when he was a heel. I think then, he had some steam, but they weren't going to do anything with it, so it just kind of fizzled out. People like The Big Show, I think it's time for him to retire. Nobody really cares anymore. Who else is there? People like Cody. I don't like Cody Rhodes that much, but I don't hate him. He's a good in-ring performer, so that's fine. Of course, there's CM Punk. I think I already mentioned him. And that's about it. I guess AJ Lee is a good diva. I mean, how often?
Okay, Luke. I have a question for you. How long did we listen to? How long did we listen to about the Red Sox not winning the World Series, or the Pirates not making the playoffs, or and that build-up when the Red Sox finally did win the World Series, people did care.
That's true.
Everybody did. And people did care when the Pirates finally made the playoffs, even if they didn't like baseball. They were like, wow, 22 years? Holy crap. People are going to care when Daniel Bryan gets it. Randy Orton, on the other hand, is the perfect personification of what people have had a long-standing problem with wrestling for the last couple of years. And that is that, guys who really can't speak, who are just big and muscular, and just do the whole brute force thing, punches, kicks, and a substandard finishing move, quote unquote, are the type of guys who get the title shots, who get the title matches.
You called it diamond cutter stuff.
The diamond cutter was absolutely fantastic. I've never seen somebody botch diamond cutters so much since I was in middle school.
True.
And, the guys you're talking about, CM Punk, you can do anything with him. Yeah. So you don't have to have him in the title them. There's only so many spots in the title area. You have to create, the way that old wrestling used to work was, you had two guys fighting for the title, and then you had other guys fighting for secondary belts, or you had them in grudge matches, or you had them in fighting jobbers. And so a guy like Ryback, who doesn't have skills yet, should be fighting jobbers.
Yeah.
But he's in a grudge match right now. So, I mean, it's the way you build up storylines. And the storylines have to weave and interconnect with previous storylines. Otherwise, people will immediately pull out the red card and say, nope, not going to work. I think the future of wrestling is going to lie in a guy's hands like Bray Wyatt. Once he gets better in the ring, he is going to be fantastic. Word on the street is they're going to bring Jake the Snake to help work with him. And anybody out there who's watching this, you should go watch Jake the Snake promos. I promise you will find yourself so confused until you get it.
Makes sense. All right, so we're almost out of time. Any last words for the people watching?
A&M versus Ole Miss. A&M 59, Ole Miss 13.
Nice. And as for me, check out my other YouTube page, Vine, all K Shillings or K Shillings Ford. See you next time.